Welcome back to our channel. I'm Hass.
I'm Cece.
Today we got a hot topic for you. As promised, this is the second part of I Can't Believe My Parents Let Me Watch That. We hope you all enjoy it, covering the themes of racist and stereotypical concepts. Sure. Well, before moving on from 16 Candles, we can move into our third theme, which deals with racist content, racial stereotypes, and a lack of diverse representation. Now, John Hughes films were not necessarily racially charged, but they were exclusionary of other cultures and races, and used racial stereotypes as jokes. Now, this movie, like many other movies of that time, had its fair share of racial stereotyping, microaggressions, and casual racism. The character Long Duck Dong was a foreign exchange student from China, portrayed in an exaggerated, stereotypical manner with a heavy accent, strange behavior, over-sexualized mannerisms, and was the butt of many jokes. This portrayal reinforces harmful stereotypes about Asians.
And if you were just, before you even get into the stereotype, just the name itself was kind of like, why does this kid have to have this name?
Right.
And so that was already kind of problematic. But let's take a look at this mess. And this is a compilation of different scenes with Long Duck Long's
Long Duck Dong.
Long Duck Dong.
Just the name alone.
I'm sorry. Long Duck Dong's character in the scenes. Sorry.
What's happening, hot stuff?
I swear, every time he shows them, they have a bell.
The gong.
The gong.
Yeah. And then being under that microscope, like that moment,
Neatly into interesting round pie.
It's a quiche.
How do you spell?
Well, you don't spell it, son. You eat it.
I love visiting with the grandma and the grandpa, and writing letters to parents, and pushing lawn mowing machine so grandpa's hyena don't get disturbed.
Now that's interesting.
Your name?
Dong.
What's your first name?
Long.
What's your middle name?
Duck.
Lord have mercy.
yeah, it was very messed up.
Just every part of his name just sounds like
like
a
what?
male appendage.
Girlfriend!
And then he can't even recognize what his girlfriend looked like.
Hell.
Like, what the hell?
Canine cologne.
Oh, no more Yankee, my wanky. The donga need food.
Dong! Where is my automobile?
Automobile? Lake. Big lake.
Into a lake. Oh my goodness.
Little scuzzbag.
They should kick them.
I can understand the part of, I entrusted you with my personal possessions. I took you into my house and everything like that. And then you laughing about wrecking my car. I ain't got money to get another car. I probably would have kicked him also.
But no, here's the thing. The problem was that, he might have wrecked the car, but it was the imagery of seeing, the Asian kid on the ground being kicked by this white lady. And then she's an older white lady, so it's kind of like, does he not get a break from anybody? You know what I'm saying?
It seemed like she was the enforcer of the, the grandpa would dole out what he was supposed to do to earn his keep, and then the grandmother would dole out any type of, the punishment.
Whatever, she was the punishment.
She was the punishment.
I mean, I don't know. I just choose the equalizer. That's what I'm trying to say.
The equalizer.
But I mean, I just think it was the imagery, like looking at the imagery now, and also the fact that he was obviously intoxicated. So it's like, instead of helping him up off the ground, you just gonna kick him. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I get it. Okay, he might have wrecked the car, but you let him. He's an exchange student. And not only is he an exchange student, and not only is maybe being in the States new to him, but also the fact that he's with you guys visiting other families. So he's in an unfamiliar place, and you're gonna hold him accountable. I mean, I just thought it was just, I don't know. At that time, I didn't like that imagery of him being kicked by that white lady. I did not like that, and I don't like it now. But anyway, moving along, guys. Another popular show that was overshadowed by racist symbolism was, and I'm sorry, Haas, The Dukes of Hazzard, which we know was a popular show on CBS that ran from 1979 to 1985. And the show is set in the rural South, and it features the Duke family. And they were frequently outwitting corrupt officials, supposedly, in this fictional county, which was called the Hazard County.
Hazard
County. Right. I had a total brain float there.
Just a good old boy, never meaning no harm.
These all you never saw, been in trouble in the law since the day they were born. Straight to the grave. Straight to the grave. Someday the mountain might get up, but the law never will. Take it away, the only way they know how. That's just a little bit more than the law will allow.
Just a good old boy, wouldn't change if they could. Fighting system like a true modern day Robin Hood.
Yeah! So cinematically, of course, this was a fun, lighthearted show, and you had to love Bo and Luke Duke, who were two very sexy cousins.
And don't forget Daisy, those shorts.
He would like that part.
Was the inspiration of the namesake of the modern day Daisy Dukes, and they merchandised the hell out of this show. I recently saw a post from Kevin Hart with a throwback of him as a kid on his Dukes of Hazzard Big Wheel.
Well, yeah, but however, with that said, the show presents several themes that could be confusing or troubling, especially for non-white children.
Of course, the most obvious issue was the Confederate symbolism used throughout the show. They had a really cool hot rod named the General Lee. And this is a direct reference to Robert E. Lee, who was a well-known Confederate general. The Confederate flag was prominently displayed on the roof of the car, and for black people, historically, this symbol is often associated with the history of slavery, racism, and oppression. But as a kid, I kind of viewed the General Lee as a magical chariot that could get you out of any trouble. I fantasized about this car. I loved the engine, how the engine roared, the curves on the car, the color of the car. It had a cool horn, which later I found out to be the Confederate charge. And it effortlessly leaped into the air, carrying them out of danger and getting them to safety. Just take a look at these incredible stunts.
All right, let's take a look.
Look how cool that car is.
It is pretty cool.
But hang on, cousin. They can take this, they can take anything.
Hey, what are you
talking? Shocks or
evading the roadblock?
I don't know what they're doing.
Don't worry, guys. This is the Italian mob. He jumped over the asses.
I mean, what little kid wouldn't want to watch watch that show. Right?
I mean, to get you out of...
And you know what's messed up is I actually, because I didn't really grow up watching a lot of TV, so I did not really grow up watching the Dukes of Hazzard. It wasn't until like, I probably caught an episode or two at my cousin's house, going back to those naughty cousins again. But I probably did watch a couple episodes at some point in my childhood. But I just remember that for some reason, the lady at the bookstore where I used to go buy books, she gave me a poster of Bo and Luke Duke, and it had the Confederate flag in the background.
You was thankful for it.
And
like,
I
you.
And I had it on my wall in my room, like above my bed.
Yeah.
And it was weird. And my parents never said a word about it. And my parents were very much into, because they grew up in the South and, they lived through Jim Crow and all of that. So they definitely, that symbol to them, and I understand that the symbol means different things to different people. I get it. The son is a Confederate, daughter's a Confederate. I get that. But to a lot of black people, it was the logo that was on the lodge for the Ku Klux Klan in my hometown.
Sure.
So to us, it represented something way different.
Sure.
And so it was interesting that my parents let me keep that on my wall.
Sure.
Like,
I mean, despite the show's intentions, the imagery of the car had the potential to confuse the identity of black children, celebrating symbols of Confederacy and holding it in a hero status.
Yeah. I mean, I even think that it has the potential to confuse any child, regardless of race, because of its history in this country. And I think the show, it kind of glorified an oppressive history. It romanticized the Old South and referencing Southern heritage and culture, without critically addressing the context in which the context of racism and segregation
Absolutely.
in relation to what that flag meant.
Sure.
And this can definitely send a confusing message to black children about the realities of the past and the complexities of Southern history. And black children might even struggle a little bit, having enjoyed that show. Do you feel a little guilty about that, huh?
I mean, you're absolutely right. This was a conflict. It led to internalized. It could have led to internalized confusion about the place of black children in such a narrative. In this type of the society, which it was the society at large. This is where we were living.
Yeah.
This is the society we were living in, especially
Exactly.
when it was most popular, which was between the 70s, the late 70s and the early 80s. I mean, the show gave the impression that you could be above the law. It showed Bo and Luke Duke were constantly in confrontation with the police. So as if they were mocking the police and as they were committing crimes, like they was above the law.
Yeah.
And to put that into the psyche of black children in a society where black people were heavily policed, definitely was a dangerous thing.
Ooh.
Wow. I think so.
That kind of gives me chills. You're right, because, it's definitely something that black people would not be able to emulate. I mean, I don't think most white people could either, but I definitely know that, hell, our kids can barely go out and be doing the most legal things possible and still, be under that.
Breathing while black.
Being
That is a
thumb.
theme that we struggle with right now.
That thumb of the law, right?
Yeah.
But, so, finally, to finish up this, and we appreciate you guys staying with us this long.
With us.
But as I was about to say, to finally finish up this video, another one of our complicated favorites is Soul Man. And as you see, we're already laughing because it's one of those things. It's like definitely a guilty pleasure. If you are black and you watch Soul Man, it is definitely a guilty pleasure. But as I stated before, I was heavily invested in teen dramas such as the John Hughes films, which I love. But when Soul Man came out, and it was starring a black woman.
Right.
I gravitated towards this because I was like, wow, this was one of the first movies that I myself, as a 14-year-old, had seen like a young black woman that I could feel like I could identify with. Sure. That was in a film that was kind of sort of a coming of age film, but I think the genre was a little bit, it was about not even college kids, but they were like graduate level because they were law students. But nonetheless, I felt like it identified with me, and so I loved it.
Well, Soul Man came out in 1986, and it was about a white college student who posed as a black man to receive a scholarship intended for African American students. And while it was intended as a comedy, the movie's premise and execution could send mixed and problematic messages. It was heavily protested when it first came out. It was first released by the NAACP and students at HBCUs and UCLA. But I was not aware of it.
Wow. Now that's a fact about this that I didn't know.
Right.
I had no idea that it was protested like that. Now, I did come to find out about that later on. Basically, it was a 2016 interview with Ray Dawn Chong, who was criticizing Spike Lee because she was like, Spike Lee's the one who caused this whole mess about the movie because he was, but it wasn't Spike Lee. It was actually that the students, other black students saw this and they thought it was problematic. So
sure. I mean, well, of course, the most glaring issue with the film is that C. Thomas Howell's character darkens his skin. Let's take a look at that.
I'm already laughing. Here we go.
There's nothing here even remotely qualifying.
Wait a second. Look at this. The Henry Q. Bouchard Memorial Fellowship, full tuition plus $8,000 annual stipend to the most qualified applicant from Los Angeles, California.
Let me see that. The most qualified black applicant, you idiot.
Oh. Well, I realize my father makes a lot of money, but you see, he's not giving me any.
I can't tell you how sorry I was to hear you couldn't get the money to go to Harvard. Whiskey sour, please. What a shame. But look, I think
then he's like, I gotta go to Harvard.
You at midterm. Why don't you give me a call?
Out of anywhere
I got
else.
The money, Brad. Oh? How?
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah? And what's your way?
It's a secret way.
Congratulations, Mr. Watson, and good luck at Harvard.
Mr. Watson.
Thank you, sir. I'll do my best.
Oh my God. I mean, it's just, it's incredible that this, it is incredible that this even made it to film.
This is essentially blackface, which is rooted in the racist tradition of blackface minstrelsy. I mean, this is deeply unsettling and offensive, undermining the identity and the dignity of black people. We recently did a video called Blackface for a New Generation surrounding digital blackface, which we will put in the link in the description below.
So, I just wonder, do you think that this movie would have been well received if it was made in 2024?
I think that in 2024 it definitely would have been heavily scrutinized. And with the culture that we have now, such as the cancel culture, it wouldn't have gone over well. Whereas, back then, black people didn't necessarily have a voice to that could push back against the powers that be. And the powers that be were the financiers or the funders that were putting these type of movies out. They could put out whatever they wanted to put out.
That's true.
But now, film creators are being held accountable, and what people are saying are being held accountable. Is what people are doing is being held accountable. People was getting away with practically murder back in the 70s and 80s. I mean,
so the second main issue with this movie is that it minimizes racism. It trivializes and makes a mockery of racism. Like in the scene where the main character moves into the apartment with his roommate, and they're kind of laughing at the fact that they've gotten over on this landlord who doesn't like black people, obviously. And so they're laughing about it. But it kind of takes away from the fact that this happens to black people every day, where they're, judged unfairly. And then the film also treats serious issues of racial discrimination, inequality, very lightly, often using them as plot devices for humor.
Sure.
And the movie also trivializes the real life experiences with racism and reduces complex issues to jokes. Like as in the scene where Howell, he gets arrested for some minor infraction, as do a lot of black men, to a lot of black men. And then he's thrown into this jail cell with all of these this whole baseball team of angry white guys, right? And so, and that's something that does happen to black people.
It's ironic.
Yeah, it's ironic. And so it is funny Because you are like, oh shit, here's a guy pretending to be a black guy, but he's really a white guy pretending to be a black guy who's being beat up by other white guys because they think he's black. So that is kind of ironic and, but it's very confusing.
It's at the expense of black men who experience this very similar incident. Every day. Right. And so it can definitely leave you confused, as a black person, because you're laughing on one hand, but on the other hand, you're like, this is fucked up because this is like my life. Right. I mean, it trivializes the experiences of black people.
Right.
And it kind of left me and several of my friends confused and even feeling a bit guilty, because it was a very funny. Yeah. It's a funny movie. You know? The most troubling issue with the movie was the misrepresentation of affirmative action.
Yeah.
The ease with which Howell's character was able to get the scholarship and beat out the other black candidates subconsciously signals that somehow affirmative action students who are typically black, brown, or female are lesser qualified than their white male counterparts. Mm-hmm. It can give the audience a skewed perspective on these programs, portraying them as easily exploitable. In that minority students are only selected due to diversity requirements versus understanding that if affirmative action were not in place, many institutions would not even consider minority students.
Yeah. And then, of course, this movie did a terrifically great job of reinforcing stereotypes. Yeah. Firstly, there's Ray Dawn Chong's character, and she's portrayed as a single mother. Of course, nothing is wrong with being a single mom, but why couldn't this Harvard law student have been portrayed as being some badass on Law Review? Why does the narrative always have to be one of struggle for black women? Because that's not my narrative. It's not a lot of narrative for a lot of other black women. And so I think that they're pulling the most convenient narrative. Let's make her a single black mom. Single black mothers. And like I said, nothing's wrong with that. But let's pick another. Let's portray the characters differently.
Have a new narrative for black women.
Right, a new narrative for black women.
The most convenient one.
Right, the convenient one. They'll put no thought into her, right. And so then there's also the scene, scene was funny, where there's the white neighbor, and she moves in, and she immediately just is all over C. Thomas Howell's character. Yeah. Because she thinks he's a black guy. And so she's totally fetishizing him. And then finally, she gets him in bed or whatever. And after they have sex, she tells him, she's like, oh, you know what? None of those stereotypes are true about black men, because especially the one about where they're supposed to have large appendages.
Right.
So that was kind of, but that was kind of messed up, because that's like, the show is still saying that black men have large appendages.
Is that the appendages?
Appendages. Yeah. But anyway, but at the same time, they're trying to say, oh, it's just this, it's what people think, but it's not really. It's also what the producers of the movies also thought, because they made C. Thomas Howell be small in that department. Right? Because he was a white man playing a black man.
Right. So, yeah. And then, of course, there is the famous dinner scene.
Oh my God.
With her parents. Take a look at this.
Like he knows.
Thank you.
Did you see how she looked at the waiter?
Raspberry tart, Mark?
Housekeeper?
Oh, no, thank you. I really couldn't eat another bite. All my life, I've only been able to think about one thing. White women.
Why does he have a knife in his mouth?
Alas, I'm going to have one.
Did you notice the antebellum dress that she had on?
Was that an antebellum dress?
It looked like it.
Lord have mercy.
Bundy Dunbar, how many times have I asked you not to watch that thing at the dinner table?
Lord have mercy. Here for your entertainment.
Did I tell you Mark's going to Harvard Law School on scholarship?
Yes, you did.
Go get my heroin and my hypodermic needle, bitch. Give me some more watermelon while you're at it.
Yes, dear.
White fat ass slut. What you looking at?
Shit. Lord have mercy. Can a black man catch a break?
Right, and then the extra fucked up part was the fact she said he's going to law school on a Harvard Law School on a scholarship. So clearly, this is not someone who does heroin or who's trying to impregnate your daughter, you know what I'm saying, or wearing a pimp suit. I mean, oh my God.
He's afraid of getting her pregnant and being, you know, what in the hell?
I know, that's
what
crazy.
What in the hell? You know, all of this stereotypical, in your face, you know,
stereotype.
All of these, it definitely reinforces negative and inaccurate portrayals of black people.
Right.
You know, and this can be damaging to black children's self-esteem and sense of dignity.
Right. I was completely amazed at how this movie not only had blackface and mentally highly charged racial stereotypes, but it also managed to play off of the white savior complex. Yeah. Which, you know, because Howell's character, Roos, is eventually uncovered. And though it's uncovered and he does learn from it and grow from his experience, his journey only centers on his own enlightenment rather than the systemic issues that affect black people. Yeah. And this once again reinforces the problematic trope of the white character becoming a hero through the black people's suffering and struggles. Yeah. And it just kind of trivializes the black experience because the character is always able to step out of this racial identity at any time. And it underscores the need for responsible and respectful media representations that foster understanding rather than perpetuating harmful stereotypes.
Looking back on these movies and TV shows, we realize how they have shaped our views on film and storytelling. They taught us to be critical of the media we consume and to always question the messages being presented to us. While these films and shows may have left us a bit traumatized, they have also given us a deeper appreciation for the power of cinema to provoke thought and emotion.
Most definitely. So from there, guys, I encourage you to share your own experiences with movies that left a lasting impression in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe for more content on these thought-provoking films. And thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.
Peace.